Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this morning's meeting of the Mojave County Public Lands and Recreation Commission, this May 2nd, 2024. Commissioner, Smith is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you do roll call, please.
Absolutely. Chairman Lingenfelter,
Present.
Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Diaz,
Here.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Strecker, Director Letowski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Terrific. The next item on our agenda is announcements. I'll go through and ask each commissioner if they have anything that they'd like to share. Commissioner Barlow, any announcements this morning? Commissioner Smith?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Martin?
Nothing.
Commissioner Streckler?
Nothing.
Commissioner Diaz?
Nothing.
Okay, and I have nothing to report as well. The Public Lands and Recreation Commission may, by motion, recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorneys on any item contained in this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. We'll now move to our regular agenda. First item of business on our agenda this morning are revisions to the Public Lands and Recreation Commission bylaws. The first thing that I'll bring to the commissioner's attention is in the bylaws, it is, Article 5, Section 1, meetings. When the attorneys redrafted these for our commission, they said the regular meetings were going to be scheduled for 2:30 p.m., and study sessions and workshop meetings, if scheduled, should be held preceding the regular sessions at 1:30 p.m. So what I'd like to do is entertain a motion, at the very least, to change our meeting time to 10 a.m. every first Thursday of the month. I'd open it up to the commissioners for discussion.
If there's no discussion, Chairman Lingenfelter, I'd like to make a motion to approve changing the meetings to the 10 o'clock slotted time instead of what you read about the 2:30 time.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You guys appear
Aye.
to have it. Do have it, so ordered. The second item on the agenda the second item of business regarding revisions to the bylaws, I'd like to make a motion to add Assessor Kinch to the membership contained in Article 2, Section 5. Right now, we have the county engineer, county attorney, public works director, development services director, parks administrator. Specifically named, I'd like to add the county assessor to those specifically named to the bylaws as well. I'd make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll make the motion to add
great.
assessor to the board.
Great. Do I have a second to Commissioner Barlow's motion?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You guys appear to have it.
Aye.
You have it. So ordered. Now we have a presentation by the Bureau of Land Management. We're very glad to have two gentlemen here from the Bureau of Reclamation, one from Phoenix, one from the St. George office. If you gentlemen would like to come up to the podium and introduce yourself, and we'd love to see your presentation. Thank you again for your time making the trip to come and be with us here today. Mr. Haas?
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Rem Hawes. I'm with the Bureau of Land Management's Arizona State Office in Phoenix, and I'm the lead public affairs specialist there. And I'll introduce Wayne Monger.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for the invitation. What an amazing facility you have. I'm very flattered to be here, so thank you. I'm Wayne Munger. I'm the district manager on the Arizona Strip District, and I've been there about a year, about 11 months now, so coming up on a year. So before that, I was in Oregon and made a big trip all the way around the state. I worked in Phoenix and originally worked in the Arizona Strip, and so I'm very happy to be back. So we just have a brief presentation for you. So if it's okay, I'll just proceed.
Please
with
proceed.
that.
Yes, thank you.
Can you guys put it up on the?
Can we get it up on the screens, please? Thank you, IT.
Okay, so BLM Arizona, Mojave County. So American Public Lands, BLM manages about 245 million acres in the United States, 10% of those of American land base, and approximately 30% of the nation's minerals. Our organic act, our founding act, is the FLPMA, and Congress passed FLPMA in 1976, and it's our guiding document and roadmap for managing the public lands into the future. BLM has roots in the GLO, the General Land Office, and the Taylor Grazing Act, which established the U.S. Grazing Service in 1946. These two agencies are what combined and created the BLM. FLPMA proclaimed that we would manage BLM lands with the intent of multiple use and sustained yield, and environmental protection as the guiding principles for public land management and establishment of critical importance of land use planning and public involvement in the process. That's one of the key things, is public involvement in all of our processes. Arizona's public lands. BLM Arizona manages about 12.1 million acres of public lands and 17.5 million subsurface acres in Arizona. This includes 60,000 active mining claims, 744 grazing permits/leases on 825 allotments, 3.8 million acres within 100 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border, 39 utility scale solar energy applications currently, 8 wind energy test applications, and 2 wind development applications, 1 approved solar energy facility, 2 approved wind energy facilities, currently 2 500 kilovolt transmission lines under construction, 10 West and Sunzia, dozens permitted and operational. 1 230/345 kilovolt transmission line in development, and that's called the South Line. 1 fiber infrastructure project, 1 water pipeline, 1 ammonia pipeline project. In Arizona, we manage 6 national monuments, 3 national conservation areas, 3 national scenic and historic trails, and 47 wilderness areas. We also have 6 wild burro herd management areas. Rural communities. BLM managed lands are critical to Arizona's rural communities for many reasons. Grazing, mining, recreational opportunities, helping provide infrastructure, and possible renewable energy development. The BLM Arizona Strip District, and that's the area that I'm fortunate to oversee of your public lands. And that's the area north of the Grand Canyon, east of Nevada, west of Glen Canyon and the Colorado River, and then south of Utah. So it's that area in the polygon there. We have a new monument, and I believe most of you were either at the public listening session or at the proclamation there on the south end, and that's the Bajnoav Joe Itak Kukvini National Monument. We also have on the Arizona Strip the Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument, which is on the west side of the Arizona Strip, and Vermilion Cliffs National Monument, which is on the east side of the Arizona Strip District. We have a few renewable energy projects in Arizona. We have 39 utility scale energy applications. We have 8 wind energy test applications and 2 wind development applications. We have 1 approved solar energy facility, the Sonoran Solar. We have 2 wind energy facilities. We have 2, as I said earlier, 2 500 kilovolt transmission lines under construction, 10 West and Sunzia. And we have dozens of other transmission lines permitted and operational throughout Arizona. Arizona Strip District itself has wind energy test projects, and those are right around the Colorado City, Fredonia area of the Arizona Strip. One is closer to Hurricane, and one is the Grand Wash Cliffs. The CG Hurricane Wash LLC is who's has those test projects, and that's ConnectGen is the company that's kind of overseeing that. To Pacific Wind Development LLC, Avangrid is the name of the company there. And they're, like I said, they're just in the testing phase. So they have the test towers up and are seeing if it's feasible to move forward with anything. On the Arizona Strip, we have the Anawat Restoration Landscape, and that's part of our integrated veg management program. And it spans 3 million acres in northern Arizona, including lands managed by the BLM, Forest Service, National Park Service, and also extends into Utah, because we tried to do it at a landscape level instead of just state levels or district boundaries or anything. We tried to match it up to what the landscape is kind of showing us. So any questions on the Arizona Strip before I move on to Colorado River District?
Commissioners, any questions so far?
I have one.
Commissioner Barlow.
I'm just curious, how many lithium mining permits or exploration permits have been issued for the North District or Mojave County?
None on the Arizona Strip. I think there's one that is coming up on the Colorado River District, and we'll jump into that presentation part next, but none on the Arizona Strip.
Other questions?
I have one question,
Commissioner Smith?
Chairman.
Commissioner Smith?
On the testing of the wind, what is considered efficient at today's date? I know I've been involved with testing on wind towers in the past. What meets the requirements for today's efficiency to make it a viable site?
I'm not sure as far as business-wise. I'll look into that and find out a current status of what constitutes feasibility. Is that what you're asking?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Martin?
I have a question concerning your solar projects. You say you got 39 active solar projects in Arizona? If I got that right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, how many you got in Mojave County specifically?
Do you remember right off the top there?
Is that going to be in your presentation? Oh, okay.
I think as we move into the Colorado River
Okay,
District, it'll
maybe
parse
you can
out
let
a
him
little
get
more.
through that part, and then we can open it back up to questions.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Haas, regarding the wind energy testing projects that you mentioned, the Hurricane Wash and the Pacific Wind Development. That's of concern or of interest to a lot of the residents that are up in the Centennial Park, Cane Beds, Colorado City area. How can interested Mojave County residents become involved in that process, and how do they really monitor it and follow it? Provide comments when the time comes.
Right, absolutely. So as we move, if we move, based on the feasibility into the more production requests or receive an application from them if they want to move forward, we'll initiate NEPA. And with that, we'll have scoping and outreach and everything into all those communities. And
Is there a email list or something that they can jump onto right now regarding those
Yeah.
projects?
absolutely, if they want to contact me, I will make sure they're on the NEPA list. And my email is dmonger, M-O-N-G-E-R, @blm.gov. And I'll make sure that they get on any interested party list, future NEPA.
How would you like, just so, if you get an influx of emails, is there a specific subject line you'd like them to use?
Just what they might be interested in. We're in flux of trying to reestablish some of these interested parties list. So if they're interested in grazing or wind energy, just put that in the
Say,
subject
please
line.
add me to the
Correct.
wind energy on the Arizona Strip mailing list or something like
Correct.
that?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
very good. Can you give sort of an order of magnitude, rough estimate on what the timeline on those projects are? I mean, they're in this certain phase of testing the resource up there right now. What sort of a timeline are people looking at?
It's really driven by the applicant of when they deem it feasible to move to the next stage, and if they have investors or anybody that wants to push to that next level.
So it's really in the best interest of people that are interested just to get on one of these mailing lists, and obviously the agency will send out all of the information
Correct, yeah.
in real time. Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I have one more.
Commissioner Barlow?
Do you guys require, for the applicant to, when they do a project, make sure they benefit the local area in any way?
We analyze that in our NEPA document. So we do socioeconomics and that as part of the analysis. So, and with that, it'll be outlined in each of the alternatives. The first alternative might say no action, right? Not allowed. Or the next alternative might say, put 10 here or 15 here, and what are the benefits and maybe some of the consequences. All those are lined out in the NEPA document. Was that helpful?
Yeah, I think that.
One last question regarding that. Is it a full-blown EIS they have to do, or is it an environmental assessment, or how does that work?
It just depends on the complexity. So once we start analyzing something, depending on the complexity and the impacts, that'll dictate what level of NEPA is required.
Okay, great. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So BLM Colorado River District. So I'm not as familiar with this district, so any questions I might have to research and get back to you on.
Great.
But we'll go ahead and move forward. The Colorado River District has 2 field offices, the Kingman Field Office and the Lake Havasu Field Office. And it basically covers, the district covers basically that whole west side of Arizona. Kingman Travel Management Plan. So Kingman started their travel management plan and environmental assessment in 2017. Scoping for the EA environmental assessment occurred in 2017. The comment period for the draft EA started in 2018 and lasted 110 days, although comments were still being received as late as March 2019. During the comment period for the draft EA, the BLM paused all travel management planning across the nation. So the current status is the BLM restarted the project in 22 by conducting data cleanup, just making sure we had all the recent data, any of the routes or anything like that that may have changed since the last time. Did inventory and analyzed more than 800 public comments that they had received. The Kingman Field Office is updating the environmental assessment to respond to any of those comments and expects to issue a draft environmental assessment by July of 2024. The Kingman Field Office will send out the draft EA to cooperating agencies, tribes, and the county for comment. The Kingman Field Office will make any necessary changes to the environmental assessment, sign a decision, and issue a plan. WikiUp, Big Sandy Inc., and the lithium bearing clay exploration. 49 drill holes were completed and abandoned for a total surface disturbance of the 5 acres. The project is located near Coffer Hot Springs on the eastern flank of the Big Sandy River. Exploration was technically completed as of October 2022. The plan proposes 145 drill holes and a bulk sample for total surface disturbance of 26 acres. The environmental assessment was completed in December of 2022, and tribal consultation is still in progress. And here are all the major solar and wind projects in Mojave County and the Havasu district. This is an overall map here. The Mojave County Wind Farm, it's in operation since December of 2022, and it's operated by NextEra. BLM receives an annual biological reports from the company and is actively monitoring the operations. White Hills and White Hills West solar applications applied for by NRG partners. White Hills variance was approved November 2023, and White Hills West variance is pending the summer of 2024 completion. Site location is 40 miles north of Kingman. The project is in the immediate vicinity of the White Hills Wind and sorry, I'm going to slaughter that.
Yeah, I think we pronounce it detrital.
Detrital, okay, thank you. Detrital Valley. The facility as proposed would be across 4,300 acres of BLM lands with solar and battery storage. It would produce up to 450 megawatts with a 345 kilovolt gen tied to the existing Wapa Hills substation, which is existing. The Dolan Springs Wind and Testing Development applied by Pacific Winds LLC. Wind testing authorized early in 2024. Wind development application includes 37,000 acres, planned up to 450 megawatts of wind power generated at the facility, 100 to 150 wind turbine generators. Interconnection strategy includes APS, Willow Bench 500 kilovolt transmission line. Additional facilities include access roads and operations and maintenance building, covered parking, temporary batch plant, and equipment storage. Atlas Wind Test and Development with Leo Solar. Arivia LLC anticipates joint NEPA process for both projects. So it's going to try and package those into one NEPA document, and so you should be able to comment on both those. But that's what they anticipate. That doesn't mean that that's what we'll move forward with. Solar variance approved to move into NEPA on November 16, 2023. Wind testing NEPA is in process. Wind development baseline studies have been initiated. Atlas Wind Test and Development. Processing wind testing applications currently. The wind development application discussion started to initiate baseline studies, 38,042 acres to produce 700 megawatts of wind energy at the facility. Leo Solar. Location is 50 miles south-southeast of Bullhead City in Arizona in Mojave Valley. Solar facility is proposed on 5,565 acres of BLM managed lands. However, the project would likely need less to meet its nameplate capacity of the 450 megawatts. The facility would include substantial battery storage. Gentai would be 16-mile, 500 kilovolt line to the Mojave substation. This substation is owned by several utilities in Southern California and Nevada. The project would be co-located with the proposed Atlas Wind project, wind test pending, development application received, solar variance approved to move forward November of 2023. Roca Caliente wind testing and development. Elos wind testing application, NEPA, was signed April of 2024. A short-term grant being offered for 3 years. Wind development application has been received. It's going to be 27,871 acres in the Black Mountains west of US 93. 5 MET towers and 5 LiDAR units are currently in that testing. Arita Solar is managed by Angora LLC, 75 acres on BLM managed lands, 4,557 acres total, 20 megawatts PV solar and BESS, pending a variance process the summer of 2024. Marketplace Solar, Arriva Power, pending variance, summer of 2024, 9,400 acres, 1,000 megawatts, solar and PV BESS. Mineral Park variance update. Variance public meetings and comments occurred in late 2023. The BLM denied the application on February 20th, 2024. Okay, stepping into our recreation business plans. Arizona BLM is, now that we have a resource advisory council, we're really pushing forward to update a lot of our recreation business plans of a lot of our facilities. These haven't been done, a lot of them, in 20, 30 years. So our fees have been stagnant for that many years. And as everyone knows, prices have increased quite a bit. So we're looking at creating a lot of business plans and proposing potential fee increases at a lot of these sites. So all the teams are focusing on writing these so we can present them to the RAC and then present them to the public for comment. The past 5 years, we've emphasized how important public lands are. The visitation alone in Arizona increased from 4.9 million acres to 4.9 million to 6.8 million people visiting our public lands. A lot of that occurred during COVID. What a lot of people determined was they got tired of being at home and they would just go out and they'd be able to social distance, but they'd be able to visit public land. So our increase, our visitation spiked quite a bit at the end of COVID. So it was really interesting. Like it says, with rising costs and increased visitation, we're looking at ways to improve recreational opportunities on public lands. And we want to make sure that all our amenities and stuff, we can still provide those due to the increased cost. So some of the recreation business plans for fee sites that we're looking at. So in May of 2024, the BLM will seek public input on 5 draft recreation business plans that would modernize the way recreation fees are managed at the following sites. So the Kingman Field Office, Lake Havasu Field Office, Arizona Strip Office, Field Office, and that's at the Virgin River Canyon Rec area. The Phoenix District is looking at their recreation shooting sites that they've developed. And then also on the Arizona Strip, we're looking at the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument in the Paria Canyon area to see if we can increase fees there. And specific business plans for those sites: Kingman Field Office, it would be the Burrow Creek, Wild Cow Springs, and Windy Point campgrounds. These will all be in one business plan. Lake Havasu. Only the Lake Havasu shoreline sites are in the Mojave County currently. Day and night use and overnight camping, proposed fee increases there. And then, like I said, the Arizona Strip District, the Virgin River Canyon Campground, and that's the area, the campground that's right off the highway as we're going from Las Vegas or Mesquite up to St. George. So this is our organization. If you're unfamiliar with how the BLM is broken up in Arizona, we have the Arizona Strip District, which is up on the north end, and that encompasses, you know, the field office, the Grand Canyon Parish Hunt, the Vermilion Cliffs, and the Bajnawav-Jo Itakukvini polygon. We don't have a staff for that yet. We're still in process of establishing the tribal commission, and at some point we will establish a resource advisory council for that monument, and we'll be recruiting for that, whether it be, you know, it'll include local resources, local community individuals too. So the Colorado River District, and that includes Lake Havasu City, Kingman Field Office, Lake Havasu Field Office, and the Yuma Field Office, and that is on the, you know, the whole west side of the state there. The Phoenix District kind of splits up the middle of the state, and it goes from the Utah border for subsurface and across the tribal nation there. And then a lot of the yellow that you see starts kind of in the Haciapa Field Office and goes down to the Mexico border. And the Gila District is on the east side of the state, and that includes the Tucson Field Office and the Safford Field Office. Okay, and that's it for me. Do you have any?
Well, thank you for the presentation. I'm wondering if you could email a copy of that presentation to our commission clerk. I'd like to make sure all the commissioners get a copy of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
The second question I would have is, how does the BLM treat official comments from cooperating agencies such as Mojave County?
Typically, whenever it's a cooperating agency, we'll enter into a memorandum of understanding, and you'll have first look at a lot of the NEPA documents and help development from the ground, from the roots up, and it is taken at that point. You know, any feedback, it's a separate kind of process than the public comment period.
Are those cooperating agency comments, are they given additional weight?
They usually are in the development of NEPA documents, because you are, it is that memorandum of understanding, and we all develop the NEPA document together.
Right. I'd open it up to the commissioners for questions. Commissioner Martin?
Yes. Under FLIPMA, you're required or supposed to emphasize multiple use, yet these, and I've been trying to keep count of how many acres all these projects are. It's a phenomenal amount of public lands that are going to be converted from multiple use into single use, which seems to fly in the face of FLIPMA that says multiple use is a priority. So understanding where all these solar projects and wind projects and all this is coming from, you're still converting lots or thousands of acres of public land that are used by everybody, and you're proposing to just allow a solar company or a wind company to come in there and convert those lands into single use, which essentially locks the public out. Is that a correct statement?
I would say, so multiple use, we can't have multiple use on every acre. You know, multiple use is more of a programmatic blanket on public lands. So for instance, we can't have a campground for recreation and put an oil rig on it, even though we're mandated through FLIPMA to have multiple use. It's not on every acre of every that we have out there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But like I noticed on some of these where you're talking about these plants are right up against the Black Mountains. Well, the Black Mountains is home to the largest native desert bighorn sheep population in Arizona. And putting these solar plants and these solar fields or whatever you want to do, wind plants out there, I can tell you firsthand that those sheep come down into that country that you're looking at. Now, they don't normally go down there, but they do go down there at different times of the year. And converting all of this programs and all these solar projects, those bighorn sheep are not going to come down there and won't be able to utilize those areas. And bighorn sheep are recognized as one of Arizona's most valuable natural resources. So just glancing at this stuff, it seems to me that a lot of that land that butts up against the Black Mountains down there, that's not going to be conducive for long-term wildlife needs. And, I'm just wondering, does BLM, are you taking that into consideration, that you're actually taking wildlife habitat out of the picture completely?
Yeah, and that's all the importance of the NEPA document, is that we pull in all those resources and analyze it. We don't make any pre-decisional decisions just based on an application. That's why we need to know all the specifics. On the surface, this spot might look great, but as we start the analysis and get feedback from Arizona Game and Fish and you guys as cooperating agencies and the public, that's what helps shape the decision. And that's why we need so much public input, because we might not know everything, and that's why we need your help in developing these documents.
In regards to the wildlife issues, I didn't see anything in here where it said the Arizona Game and Fish is a cooperating agency or been contacted, and are they involved in this process?
We have a statewide memorandum of understanding that we would involve them with all
Because
actions,
I'm fairly sure that Region 3 would definitely be interested in knowing about these proposed projects that you're putting right up against sheep habitat.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they need to be, if they're not at the table, they need to be at the table, and they need to know what you folks are trying to do out there, because it is definitely going to impact wildlife habitat in a lot of places in Mojave County.
Yeah, no, absolutely, they'll be at the table.
Commissioner Strecker.
Yes, sir. I had a few questions, and I'll be emailing these to you if you just can't answer them directly. I just want to address them on a formal matter and to explain to the panel and any other citizens who may ask. Do you happen to know offhand why the denial of the mineral park, just offhand what the denial was for?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, that was one of my questions. The second one was for during your planning and public involvement, the intent for the environmental assessment. There is the signed decision to be made for what? Can you just elaborate that a little bit, please?
Which one was it? I'm sorry.
During the planning and public involvement, there's the environmental assessment intent, and then there's a signed decision that's going to be made. Can you?
Was that on the travel management plan?
I believe so.
That's just outlining the process.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah, the NEPA process is to, at the end of it, to sign a decision.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that it is to come up with some sort of a network.
Okay.
That's the intent.
My other question was for during the solar and wind section for these plants, the outsourcing, and this somewhat elaborates on Commissioner Barlow's point as to the benefits to which of these states. Is there some type of explanation as to how much of these resources are going to be divided up versus Southern California, Nevada, and to Arizona specifically?
I don't know that one.
Okay, I think,
Yeah.
I made a note here, but for the interconnection strategy to APS, which obviously goes down to, I believe, the Phoenix metropolitan area.
Okay. I'll look into that. I'm sorry, I don't
Nope.
know that right off the top.
Those were all my questions, thank you.
Awesome.
Good questions, thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
Commissioner Martin?
I have another question. In addition to the Arizona Game and Fish Department having an interest in all of this stuff, what about the different conservation groups in Arizona, like the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society, the Arizona Mule Deer Association? Are those groups notified about these plans that you are looking at? And are they asked to participate? Because I'm sure that being part of those different groups, they're going to have some interest in this too, as far as from their organizational standpoint, because they're purporting to increase and help wildlife in Arizona. And I just wonder, are they notified? I mean, like the Sheep Society and the Deer Society and all them people, are they notified about this?
They are, and they do participate during the public scoping period.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think he raises a good point. Mr. Munger, you gave your contact information for those individuals that wanted to join a mailing list to get information about what's going on the Arizona Strip field office. Is there a similar email that we can give out to citizens regarding the Kingman area and the Lake Havasu area district office?
I don't have that on hand with me, but I will get that to you.
Okay, would you, when you send the presentation copy to our Commissioner Clerk, could you include that information as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith, any questions?
One question. Is there in the studies to provide for what we're going to do in a reclamation when all these solar panels fail here in about 15 or 20 years? And then that time, they may not become viable anymore. How are we ever going to put these thousands of acres back to a useful use?
Yeah, it's all included in their plan of operations, and then we require a bond.
Commissioner Barlow, any questions? No. So if I heard you right, you require, or I should say the BLM requires for any utility scale project, they require a decommissioning plan to
Correct.
be
Yeah, as part
associated
of
with
the-
those projects?
Correct, as part of the plan of operations.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? Very good. We want to thank you both again for making the trip down or up to the Kingman area. And we appreciate this, and hopefully we'll have you back.
Can you hear me?
Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Diaz, did you have any questions?
Yeah, but I was trying to get in. I guess I was still muted. But anyway, I'm off muting. Thank you. I'd like to the questions that I'm sorry, I didn't get the commissioner's name. Who the female was asking the questions. Those are some
Commissioner
of the
Strecker.
similar questions that I had also. Yeah, Strecker. Can we get those questions and the answers be shared to the entire commission?
Yes, the answer from our Commissioner Clerk is yes.
We will send out
Okay,
all
thank
the
you. That's it.
information that they provide to us, to all of you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Diaz?
No, that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you both. If you wouldn't mind sticking around, we have one more item that's BLM related. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to comment on that if you would like to do that. So I'll call you back up to the podium when that's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next agenda item is approve and sign. Actually, I just wanted to make sure that we brought this to the commissioner's attention. We're not actually going to be advising on this. I think that I need to, as one of the board members, bring back a proposed additional change to our bylaws, Article 2, Section 2, where we open it up, expand the scope of this commission to review and comment really on any federal policy that would be affecting our public lands. And right now we're a little bit limited in Article 2, Section 2. So I'm going to be bringing that back. Why I asked for this item to be on our agenda is I want you, as our commissioners for public lands, to be aware of this. So basically this is on our Board of Supervisors agenda next Monday. It's a letter in opposition to the proposed BLM Public Lands Rule, RIN 1004-AE92, as the rule proposes significant threats to the economic stability, recreational opportunities, and traditional land uses within Mojave County and across the West. The letter should be attached to your backup materials. It is on Development Services letterhead from our chairman, Hildy Angus. Is there anyone from, Scott, do you want to cover this? Maybe give a brief overview of this letter and kind of what staff's view of the BLM rule is, and kind of bring everybody up to speed.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, absolutely. Staff was made aware of this. I think it was a few months ago. We had the first opportunity to be able to look at this rule proposed by the BLM and commented on that and provided comments as a cooperating agency with the BLM. When looking at it, Commissioner Martin had a lot of things that he said were in common with what we were looking at, that the BLM land is meant for multi-use, and this new rule is looking at creating single-use conservation for the public land, which would kind of restrict some of the things that Mojave County really relies on. Just looking at doing some research in development services, there's several jurisdictions that
David
are,
Diaz.
Is now exiting.
there's several jurisdictions that are opposed to this public rule as well. A lot of it is that it's very disproportionate to the western states, where a lot of federally owned land is in the western states. Just Mojave County itself has 73% of its land is federally owned. And we want to make sure that the grazing land, the natural resources that we have, as well as the recreation that we have in Mojave County is maintained. As of April 18th on this last month, the BLM has made some changes to the rule and are now presenting it for approval. Mojave County, I believe we would stand behind our decision to object to the rule. In the letter, we proposed several recommendations. One is to extend the public comment period to allow adequate time to assess the full impact and this complex rule in our community. Second would be to hold public hearings in Mojave County to ensure the voices and concerns of our residents are directly heard. I don't know if you saw the maps that the BLM had up there. You can see even just in the state of Arizona, most of the BLM land is in our county, and so we want to make sure that we have a voice in that. And then thirdly, that they conduct a thorough economic analysis to understand the potential negative impacts, negative economic consequences of the rule in the county and in the West. So like I said, this is a rule that's affecting, I believe it's 11 states in the West, and we wanted to make sure, or it might even be throughout the country, but for the states in the West, it's more effective because most of it is that BLM land. So we wanted to show our opposition and then possibly work with the BLM to hopefully come up with a better solution.
Thank you, Scott. I know that you guys may not be prepared to comment on this new rule, but if you'd like to comment on that, I'd like to give you the opportunity to do so, on how it really works. I think I've read this, and my understanding is it elevates conservation to be on the same level as some of the other multiple uses, such as what's outlined in the Taylor Grazing Act and in the FLPMA, and it would allow conservation groups or environmental groups to lease vast swaths of public lands and potentially harm grazing activity and other multiple uses. So I just wanted to know if you wanted to comment on that or not.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, my name is Rem Hawes with the Bureau of Land Management out of Phoenix. I didn't come prepared to talk about this, but I can tell you what I know, I guess. As you know, there were some open houses and outreach sessions that occurred throughout the country. There was one in Phoenix You rightly recognized that there was not one in Mojave County. I guess one thing I did want to point out, though, the original draft of the rule, one of the things it had was this idea of conservation leases. The idea would be that, like, you can get a permit for grazing or for recreation, that you could get a permit to do conservation work on public lands. And that was something we heard a lot about. That was actually a change that was made between the proposal and what is now the latest part of the rule. So rather than it being wide open to conservation in a general way, it's limited to restoration and mitigation. So it would be areas that have a demonstrated need for the lands to be improved, whether that, if it requires fire or mechanical treatments or, whatever it takes to improve the land health. It would be for restoration, which is much narrower than the conservation, which was the first iteration of the rule. And then the other is mitigation, and that's based on, for example, in the mining industry, if there is an impact to a certain resource like listed species or other natural resource, the way companies can do mitigation or mitigate that impact is to work in another area or even acquire lands that conserve that species or whatever that resource is that's potentially impacted, which has actually been pretty successful. So I just wanted to make that clarification that that kind of wide open conservation lease idea has been trimmed down to for restoration purposes, for areas that have a demonstrated need for landscape restoration, and for mitigation purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. I'd open it up to the commissioners for either comments or questions. Commissioner Martin.
Yeah, like I say, I got a hammer on this because I'm pretty near and dear to it. I don't know if the BLM's aware, but in Arizona, they sell a deer permit up for the Arizona Strip for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is the most sought after deer permit in the United States to get a public lands permit up there. And looking at these plans, these different, where you're wanting to conduct these different solar plants and windmills and all that kind of stuff, that's going to affect that. And also, there's a trickle-down effect. It's not just the guy that pays $300,000 for deer permit, but it's a guy like me that's applying for public lands permit up there. And when you start consolidating and putting all these different projects in, and you are converting it from multiple use to single use, there's no way you can defend that, I think, because I've never can't even fathom wildlife being underneath one of those solar fields, especially when you got fences around it and the temperature underneath essentially just sterilizes the ground. So I was aware of this conservation thing, but it seemed to me that Mojave County, if there's a county in Arizona that has such a wide-ranging, overarching business with wildlife and recreation, it's Mojave County, and yet there was not one meeting done here. I can assure you, had there been a meeting done here and these plans been brought out, you'd have got an earful. Because as I'm telling people out there, you know what's happening in our county? They are up in arms. And the request to extend the public comment period and to even come back and say, okay, we're gonna do a comment period in St. George, Utah for the Strip people. We're going to do one in Mojave County in Kingman for all the people around here. I think that is reasonable to ask, considering that there was not one done when the rule was being proposed. So that would be my comment. Is I agree with what Supervisor Linkenfelter says. There should be more time on this and let the public know what you're planning on doing.
I will take that back to our management. The rule, of course, is a national rule. So it'd be my boss who can convey that back to our leadership there. But I will take that concern back, and as you say, you'll be submitting a letter that'll articulate that as well, and I'll let you know that that is effective, so appreciate that. I guess the one last thing I wanted to add was we do have a lot of applications right now for solar and for wind, for renewable energy in general. I think we identified that currently we have 39 applications for mostly solar, but wind as well. And I guess what I would say is every one of these has to be analyzed and looked at, and not all of them are going to get approved. There are going to be some that will be either denied or modified. And I'm not going to hazard a guess, an over and under of how many of these will actually come to fruition. But if past is prologue, back in the early 2000s, we had nearly 20 applications statewide for solar developments. One of those actually went through. Now, part of that was because of some economic reasons and other factors, but I guess I can't assure you, but I can give a pretty good guess that not all of these are going to get approved, for what that's worth.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from commissioners? Commissioner Strecker? Nothing? No. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Barlow? Is Commissioner Diaz still on the line? No? I would say, from Mohave County's standpoint, there is quite a few renewable energy projects that are going through the processes right now. I think historically, at least since I've been in since 21, we've been a little bit disappointed in, as a cooperating agency, the lack of in-person public meetings. I know for the National Monument, for instance, Mohave County petitioned rather urgently, since about half of that monument was in Mohave County, that we would have a public meeting for our citizens here to have comments. Some of us did go to the meeting in Flagstaff, which is a much different environment, and we weren't really treated very well there. We were called names. It was a very intimidating environment for those of us that had opposing views than the majority there. And I think if, through the framework of these public lands belong to all of us, that we should be having meetings in places that have disparate views, without having to go somewhere where you are going to be feeling threatened or intimidated. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to have more in-person meetings. I know that with some of these solar projects, there's been some online virtual meetings. I think that's a great opportunity for some people that are, maybe they have a strong fiber broadband connection or are able to jump on, but we have a lot of senior citizens here that maybe don't have that capability and really prefer the in-person, face-to-face. So if we could really ask to keep our partnership strong and to have more in-person meetings here when we have things that affect public lands located in Mohave County, I think that's a fair ask, and we appreciate that. Yeah, you taking that to your supervisor.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do that, and I can also say that, particularly with the renewable energy projects, most of these are very early in the process. Most of them we haven't even started the NEPA process on. But when we do, that'll be, I can assure you we'll reach out and invite cooperating agency status to the county, as well as Arizona Game and Fish and others. And I'll take that back, that the in-person meeting is, particularly in this county, is more effective. We're getting to the point where we can do more of those. We're in a little bit of a holdover from, following the COVID, that, we'd gone to almost completely virtually, and the doors are open now to get back in person and sit face to face and actually work on things across the table. So, yeah, I can take that back.
That's great to hear. And again, thank you, Mr. Haas. Thank you for both coming up, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you.
We have one person that signed up. This commission does not have a call to the public, but we do allow individual citizens to sign up on specific issues. We have one person signed up for agenda item number 6, Becky Foster. If you want to come up and have 3 minutes.
Becky Foster, I live in Kingman. I'm coming in at this from the back end. I didn't see your letter, but I'm speaking to in favor of the letter being sent to BLM, and I'm assuming it is the rule involves their change in to change or eliminate the variance process. And I think that the public should be involved in everything that they do with the public lands, and there should be public comment and made available. And as Commissioner Martin said, I believe that they need to have meetings here in Kingman as well as the Strip and all over Mojave County. So I'm speaking in favor of your letter.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're going to make sure that all the materials that BLM sends to the commissioner clerk is distributed to all of our commissioners. One of the important roles of our commissioners is we're really going to have to rely on all of you to spread the word, make sure that people have the emails from BLM if they want to get on mailing lists so that they can track these projects. There are significant projects in Mojave County going through their processes right now, so it's really going to be upon us on the Board of Supervisors and anybody else that's interested to get the word out and educate as much as we can. And with that, there is no motion. That was just for your information. We're going to go to item number 7, which is commissioner comments. And Commissioner Barlow, any comments? I'm gonna combine items number 7 and 8, commissioner comments and any requests for agenda items for our next meeting.
So I guess the agenda item I would wonder about is, I noticed the planning and zoning is sending the moratorium, what do they call that?
You're talking about the temporary moratorium on utility scale unit
Right.
energy projects?
I noticed that they made some changes and was sending it back for review to the staff. I was wondering if we will get a chance to look at that before it goes back to them.
Yeah, we can certainly put it on for information only. At this point, I would need to, as a board member of our supervisors, go back with the change to, I think, Article 2, Section 2 of the bylaws, which again broadens those areas where we're providing some advice. But we can certainly put it on for information only if you'd like to see it. Was that all? Yes. Okay. Commissioner Smith, any comments or future agenda item requests?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Martin.
I just want to say that I was on the original, what they call McPluck, that was years ago. It was Mojave County Public Lands Use Committee, and I was the chairman of the Wilderness, Wildlife, and Endangered Species Subcommittee. We worked a lot with the different agencies, with BLM. We even had some Forest Service issues that we worked with. And I'm glad to see that this group is back together and that we have a voice and we can bring a voice to county government about what's going on with public lands and recreation in Mojave County. You know, we know that our county has a lot of tourism, a lot of recreational opportunities, a lot of money comes into Mojave County. And I think that by being able to have this committee and be able to offer input to the Board of Supervisors about things, I think it's a win-win for the county and everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Strecker.
Yes, so I just have some comments, essentially kind of supporting what Commissioner Martin was saying as well. And just to kind of clarify and be sure that people can keep track of how much allocation, you know, the responsibility between the lands of BLM, between San Bernardino County, California has a lot of useful land, Nevada, Clark County has a lot of useful land, and how much of the division BLM is able to willingly work with all these counties so we can equalize the building between all 3 states as well, and outside of Nevada, California, and Arizona. And also we understand that, yeah, for economic reasons that there is a lot of money that comes in. So we want to be sure that we don't tread on that too heavily simply with development and building. My only other question is just to, I think Chairman Lingenfelter mentioned it was going to be at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Monday, but for the RIN letter, can we review that or get a copy of that somewhere?
There should be one in your materials. Everybody provided a copy of that letter today?
should be one in your packet.
You should
Oh,
have
okay.
that. If you don't have it, I'll give you a copy.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That was all.
Any future agenda items at this time, Commissioner? Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, please. In your packets, there's also a tentative schedule that we created. On July, if we follow the calendar of the first day of, or first Thursday of the month, July 4th is right on Thursday. So we can either meet, like, if you wanted to the day before, if you wanted to take a recess for the month, however you would like to work that, we just need to kind of plan ahead for that. So it's
Does that need to be
it doesn't need to be decided.
put on the June,
We can
an
do
official
that.
item that's noticed?
Yep, we can
Okay,
do
let's
that.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for making us aware of that. All right, if there's nothing else, I want to thank everybody again for attending, both our commissioners, our staff, and the public. The BLM, certainly thank you for being our guest today, and the meeting is adjourned.
Concerns Arizona.